Yesterday we talked about bacteriology and viruses and why we're concerned about them. Today we're going to talk about how to get rid of them and to make sure we don't have to be that concerned, because we know we'll take care of things. So we're going to be going over the principles of prevention. There's no better way for a salon to make a good impression than to maintain the highest level of cleanliness. We all know no matter what kind of business we walk into, if everything's sparkly clean, we feel like we're in a nice place. But sometimes even that's deceiving. It may not be as clean as it looks. So we want to make sure that the businesses we frequent that's going to be filing our nails or clipping our cuticles or might cut our ear during a haircut, that it's clean all the way down to the bone. Controlling infection and disease is a vitally important aspect of the salon industry. Clients depend on you to ensure their safety. One careless action could cause injury or serious illness. Being a salon professional can be fun and rewarding, but it's also a big responsibility. Fortunately, preventing the spread of dangerous disease is not hard to do if you know how to do it, and more important yet, if you practice what you know. That's why I told y'all I'm going to take you in the dispensary and show you. They have told you every means and ways to do it. You're going to choose one in your salon and practice that one. And believe me, if you do 25 clients today, it's not going to take you 35 minutes to clean up all the equipment you used on them and disinfect it. Does that make you feel a little better about it? Because we're going to choose that one way. Decontamination. Look around you. What do you see? No doubt wherever you are looking at some sort of surface. It could be a table, the wall, the floor, the doorknob, or look at your hands. Almost everything presents a surface of some kind. These surfaces may seem clean. They may even look sparkling. But no matter how clean they appear to the naked eye, chances are they're contaminated. You know, we talked about in bacteriology that bacteria are everywhere. Surfaces of tools or other objects that are not free from dirt, oils, and microbes are covered with contaminants, which are any substances that can cause contamination. Many things can be contaminants, such as the hair left in a comb, makeup on a towel or brush, or nail dust on a file. And I remember back when I was training and we would wash towels, put them in the dryer, and then we'd go back there, and our hands have been in water so much it's hard to tell when something's truly dry. So we'd pull the towel up and stick it to our face to see if it was dry. What did we do to that towel? We contaminated it, put bacteria back on it. We'd throw it back in the dryer because it didn't feel like it was good and dry, so we contaminate everything, you know, unless the dryer was really, really hot. Tools and other surfaces in the salon can also be contaminated with bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Even tools that appear to be clean are usually covered with microorganisms. Another reason for that is water has microbes or microorganisms, germs, bacteria in it. A salon can never be completely free from all contamination, and it would not make sense to attempt such a goal. But as a salon professional, we need to be on constant alert for disease-causing contaminants. And if you listen to this and read this carefully, you realize that in order to be in a world where there's no bacteria or viruses, you've got to live in a glass bubble with nothing coming in and out from the outside world. The removal of pathogens and other substances from tools and surfaces is called decontamination. It involves the use of physical or chemical means to remove, inactivate, or destroy pathogens so that the object is rendered safe for handling, for use, or either disposal. There are three main levels of decontamination: sterilization, disinfection, and sanitation. Only disinfection and sanitation are required in the salon. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Sterile, when something needs to be sterile, it is an object that is meant to pierce your skin or operate on you or cut you. So sterilization is the highest level of decontamination. It destroys every organism on a surface, whether it's beneficial or harmful. It even kills bacterial spores. You remember about the spores? That's protective outer covering. And when we disinfect or sanitize, They usually we wipe them around because our disinfectant and our solutions do not penetrate it. And that's why we constantly are disinfecting and all until it comes out of that protective covering, and then we're there to zap it. Bacterial spores are actually the most resistant form of life on Earth, meaning that they're the hardest thing there is to kill. Methods of sterilization include the steam autoclave and dry heat. Sterilization is a process used by dentists and surgeons whose tools are designed to break and penetrate the skin barrier. Estheticians also use needles and probes that lance the skin, so they must follow the same sterilization procedures. Esthetician is a part of cosmetology that deals only with skin care, and that's cleansing of the skin and helping with facial treatments for people that have acne, removing blackheads. Pre-sterilized disposable lancets or needles are a simpler solution to the issue of sterilization. In other words, you use it one time and you throw it away. You don't have to clean it and disinfect it or sterilize it from client to client. The word sterilize is often used incorrectly. Some practitioners tell clients that they are sterilizing the nail plate or skin. That's impossible. Sterilizing the skin would quickly kill it and would destroy the nail plate as well. And that's another thing about disinfectants too. They're very harmful to the skin and nails, so we can't even disinfect the skin and nails. We can only sanitize it. We can only sterilize surfaces that are not porous. Metal implements are non-porous and can be sterilized, but wood surfaces, which are porous, cannot. So sterilization is impractical and unnecessary in the salon. Disinfection is a higher level of decontamination than sanitation, being second only to sterilization. Disinfection controls microorganisms on hard, non-porous surfaces, such as cuticle nippers and other salon implements. Disinfection provides the level of protection required by the salon to kill most organisms, with that one exception. What is that one exception? The spores. That's correct. Bacterial spores. That's really not necessary in the salon environment, though, that we kill them. It's important only in hospitals and other healthcare facilities where instruments are used to penetrate or cut the skin. It is important that we know we got to disinfect and disinfect and disinfect those, so when they come out of that protective coating, that we get them quickly. Disinfectants are chemical agents used to destroy most bacteria and some viruses and to disinfect implements and surfaces. Disinfectants are not for use on human skin, hair, or nails. Never use disinfectants as hand cleaners. Any substance powerful enough to quickly and efficiently destroy pathogens can also damage skin. One of the main things to do with our disinfectants is to make sure you read the directions carefully. We usually buy disinfectants in concentrate form, meaning we have to dilute them. If we dilute them too much, then they're not effective and do not kill what we think they're killing. If we leave them too strong, then we stand the chance of having an accident, like splashing it in our eyes or getting it on our skin and causing harm to us or someone else that way. And also make sure you label bottles. When you put it in a bottle after you have diluted it, make sure you label it as such. We don't want to go out there and be spraying barbicide on a client's hair thinking it's setting lotion, because barbicide is a disinfectant. Manufacturers take great care to develop safe and highly effective systems. Just because something is safe does not mean that it cannot be dangerous. Any professional salon product can be dangerous if we don't use it correctly. Like all tools, disinfectants must always be used in strict accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. We should also make sure that we purchase disinfectants that are approved by the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency. The disinfectant's label must also have an EPA registration number, and if there's not that number on there, don't purchase it, because it hadn't been approved. It is the only way to ensure that the EPA has the necessary test data on file and that the product has been proven effective against certain organisms. The product label will also tell you exactly which organisms the disinfectant has been tested for, such as HIV-1 or the hepatitis B virus. The law requires testing for specific organisms or it will not appear on the label. Is it important that we have a disinfectant that's HIV and hepatitis B approved? Certainly. Besides the EPA registration number, federal law requires manufacturers to provide you with important information in the form of a material safety data sheet. We call them our MSDSs, along with other important information such as directions for proper use, safety precautions, a list of the active ingredients. The MSDS provides all pertinent information on products ranging from content, associated hazards, to combustion levels and storage requirement. These sheets should be available for every product used in the cosmetology school or salon and may be obtained from the product's distributor or manufacturer. The state of Georgia has not yet started requiring that you have MSDS in the salon, but being a state educational institute, we have to have them for every product. Not only do I have to have them here for my reference or your reference, I also have to turn a copy of them over to the IE, Institutional Effectiveness, making sure we're doing what we're supposed to, and also to the maintenance supervisor, because if we were to have a chemical spill, who's going to come clean it up? The custodians. Custodians work directly under the maintenance supervisor, so they've got a right to know. And if you'll notice in the dispensary, we have a right to know station. It's a big yellow notebook hanging up there in a rack. Your right to know. You have a right to know what I'm asking you to use in these hair products and what effects it would have. Operating without an MSDS poses a health risk to anyone in a salon who comes in contact with hazardous materials. Take the time to read all this vital information. Only then will you be certain that you're protecting yourself. Now, does this mean you got to go back there and read those 3,000 MSDSs I've got? No, it doesn't mean that. Most of the time you can look right on the packaging and it will tell you, you know, use with care, dangerous, it'll have an emblem on it or whatever. But you need to study 2 or 3 of these MSDS, and the book did give you a blank one. You need to know what's on there and where it's probably located on that MSDS, because who knows when a child's going to come in there and drink something you've got. Who knows when a child's going to come in there and knock it over and spatter it all in their eyes. Who knows when you might bump something and get it on your client, and it shouldn't be. OSHA, it's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration that was created as part of the U.S. Department of Labor to regulate and enforce safety and health standards in the workplace. Regulating employee exposure to toxic substances and informing employees about the dangers of materials used in the workplace are the key points of the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. I would remember all of that if I was you. State Board's going to certainly ask questions about it, and I'm going to certainly ask questions about it. This act established the Hazard Communication Rule, which requires that chemical manufacturers and importers assess the hazards associated with their products. Material safety data sheets and product labeling are 2 important results of this law. Should that be important to us? It should be important to us. It's not so vitally important to us like it would be in some businesses. Let's talk about the place that I'm thinking about taking y'all on a field trip where they actually manufacture products. Of course, we're not going to get to go in that plant because it's too dangerous. But what do you think about those employees that work in there on a daily basis with those chemicals? This law in the MSDS sheets, that is of utmost importance to them. Wouldn't you think? They breathe that all day. They're there where they can come in contact with it. The standards set by OSHA are particularly relevant to the cosmetology industry because of the nature of the chemicals used. Issues having to do with the mixing, storing, and disposal of chemicals, the general safety of the workplace, and most importantly, the right of the cosmetologist to know what is contained in the products that she uses regularly. So choosing a disinfectant, the number one thing we want to remember about disinfectants is they are chemicals. To use a disinfectant properly, you must read and follow the manufacturer's instructions. Such variables as mixing, precautions, and exposure times demand particular attention. The product label will explain what the disinfectant has been tested for. To meet requirements, a disinfectant must have the correct effectiveness to be used against bacteria, fungi, and viruses. And I told y'all yesterday that Georgia now requires a hospital-grade disinfectant. So it's going to have to be all of these things. Pseudomoniacal, bactericidal, fungicidal, virucidal. If a disinfectant has been tested for additional organisms such as HIV-1, it will be stated on the label. And for Georgia, it should be tested for HIV-1. For bloodborne pathogens, OSHA issued a policy in '97 stated that in order to comply with OSHA's bloodborne pathogen standard, the use of an EPA-registered tuberculocidal disinfectant or an EPA-registered disinfectant labeled as effective against HIV and HPV is required. That is now required in the state of Georgia. Tuberculocidal means for tuberculosis. Are y'all familiar with tuberculosis? You hear on the news every once in a while, I think it was year before last, tuberculosis broke out in some of the schools in Richmond County, in Augusta, Georgia. That's pretty close to home. And the more we can do to get rid of these bacteria, the safer we are against it. When salon implements accidentally come in contact with blood or body fluids, they should be cleaned and completely immersed in an EPA-registered disinfectant that kills HIV-1 and hepatitis B virus, or in a tuberculocidal disinfectant. The National Interstate Council of State Cosmetology Schools follows this standard for examinations as well. And what that means to you is the State Board of Cosmetology here gives the NIC test. So that means when you do your practical, you're going to have this substances with you to disinfect and sanitize your table and disinfect your implements. And also you're going to be asked questions along these very lines here. Any item that is used on a client must be disinfected or discarded after each use. Items that do not have the capacity to be disinfected, such as orange wood sticks, must be discarded. Combs, brushes, scissors, razor, clipper blades, nippers, electrodes, and other commonly used non-porous tools must be disinfected. Even the best disinfectants do not work well if mixed or used incorrectly. So we need to know how to mix them. We need to make sure our implements are clean, because it goes on to tell us about hair, nail filings, or whatever. If we leave that on our equipment and then put it in our disinfectant, it's diluting and contaminating our disinfectant, so therefore it's not disinfecting like it should. Also is contact time. That's another important thing. And different companies have different contact times. Don't assume because the one you used 2 weeks ago said to leave it in contact 10 minutes that everyone, in the shop's got a different kind in. Contact time usually ranges from 10 to 20 minutes. Is there a big difference in that? Yes. If it's meant to stay in contact 20 minutes and you leave it only 10, then it's only half worked. Ultrasonic cleaners are high-frequency sound waves to create powerful cleansing bubbles in the liquid. The cleansing action is an effective way to clean tiny crevices that are impossible to reach with a brush. Without an effective disinfectant solution, however, these devices only sanitize implements. And what they're saying to you here, this says it disinfects, but it's actually an ultrasonic cleaner. If you don't put the disinfectant in it, it's not done anything other than clean. You'll notice our disinfectant solution when we go in the dispensary is simply a plastic tub. Is that okay? I mean, come from Walmart. Yes, it certainly is okay. We hadn't got to have the bubbles in this expensive little device that'll only hold 4 pieces of stuff. That's for the extra cleaning. But if you have stuff that has the little crevices and all, you really might want to invest in an ultrasonic cleaner to make sure you're getting everything out of the little crevices. Ultrasonic cleaners are a useful addition to your disinfection process, but are not required. In other words, if the board comes in, we're perfectly safe with what we have back there. Many systems disinfect with great effectiveness without relying on such devices. Some salons feel that this added cleaning benefit is well worth the extra expense. It also saves time by eliminating cleaning by hand. So we talk about our types of disinfectants now. Quaternary ammonium compounds, commonly called quats, are a type of disinfectant considered non-toxic, meaning it's not poisonous. They're odorless and they're fast-acting. The older formulas were not as effective, but the newer products called dual quat formulas are dramatically more effective. Most quat solutions disinfect implements in 10 to 15 minutes. Leaving some tools in the solution for too long may damage them. And what we're talking about here, if you decide you've got to rush home and you've just done a haircut and you clean your scissors and put them in there and leave them overnight, it's going to dull your cutting surface or you dull your blades. It's probably going to set in rust also. Keep in mind that long-term exposure to any water solution or disinfectant may damage fine steel. With today's modern formulas, corrosion of metal surfaces can be easily avoided, especially if you keep implements separated while disinfecting. You will notice as we go into nail care that we have some jars back there, and when you pull the lid up, the little metal basket comes up with it. So when we put our implements in there, if they're metal, they're touching that metal at the bottom. So oftentimes we'll drop some cotton down in the solution and then drop our implements in it. Is that okay? Yeah, it keeps metal out of contact with metal. And if you'll notice when metal starts rusting where it's been damp, it's usually going to be where it's touching each other. That's where the first rust will start, one metal against another. So make sure you don't have any touching, and we don't want it touching that at the bottom, so we put the cotton as a barrier between the two metals. Metal implements such as scissors and nail clippers should be oiled regularly to keep them in perfect working order. Now I want to go over a caution over here, and I want to explain to you what this is. Once we get all this equipment cleaned and disinfected, where do we keep it until we use it again? We can't just lay it on the counter because bacteria is all over the counter. So we put it in what we call the closed cabinet or dry cabinet sanitizer. And all that is, it can be the drawer in your station if it contains a fumigant. Okay. When I started training, we would go to the dollar store and buy salt shakers, salt and pepper shakers. And we would stuff them full of cotton and then put a formaldehyde tablet right up close to where the holes were going to be in the lid. Put the lid on and we put it in our dry cabinet sanitizer. But there was a problem with that. They found out about formaldehyde and what it does to people. So now, instead of buying tablets like that, you just buy it. It looks like a little salt shaker. You take the lid off and you'll see some little holes in this plastic thing, and you put it in your dry cabinet sanitizer, and your equipment stays sanitary until you use it on the next client, if it was clean and disinfected when you put it in there. So this caution tells us a little bit about formaldehyde. In the past, formalin, which is a solution of formaldehyde in water, was recommended as the disinfectant and also as a fumigant in dry cabinet sanitizers. However, formalin is not safe for salon use. Formaldehyde, a pungent gas, is a suspected cancer-causing agent. It's poisonous when inhaled. It's extremely irritating to the eyes, nose, throat, and lungs. It also causes skin allergies, irritations, dryness, and rash. After long-term use, formaldehyde vapors can cause symptoms similar to chronic bronchitis or asthma. These symptoms will usually worsen over time if you're continually exposed to it. So now we call them Sterodry. That's what's on the bottle. Phenols is another type of disinfectant. Like quats, phenolic disinfectants or phenols have been used reliably over the years to disinfect implements. Phenol is a caustic poison, but it can be safe and extremely effective if used according to instructions. All right, listen to our definitions good, because you're going to be choosing your disinfectant. Remember, quats, non-toxic. Phenols, caustic poison. One disadvantage of phenols is that the rubber and plastic materials may be softened and discolored by phenols. Phenols in 5% solution are used mostly for metal implements. And we'd like an all-the-way around disinfectant, wouldn't we? We can put our metals in, our plastics in, our natural bristle brushes in. But we don't want 14 disinfectant solutions sitting back here and have to say, which one is for the metal, which one is for whatever. We want an all-around good disinfectant. Extra care should be taken to avoid skin contact with phenols. Phenolic disinfectants can cause skin irritations, and concentrated phenols can seriously burn the skin and eyes. Some are poisonous if accidentally ingested. Then we have alcohol and bleach. And we're going to have some percentages here, and you need to know these percentages because we often use alcohol. The other day, when I asked y'all to clean up the classroom, we were sanitizing. We're still talking about disinfectants here, but we were sanitizing. And if you notice the smell of that alcohol, it didn't smell like what rubbing alcohol you use at home. It's a special type of cleansing alcohol developed for use in the beauty salons. The word alcohol is often misunderstood. There are many chemical compounds that may be classified as alcohol. The three most widely used are methyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol, and isopropyl alcohol. In the salon, ethyl and isopropyl alcohol are sometimes used to disinfect implements. That's all we had when I come along for our scissors and all, and that's what we took to state board with us when I went, but times have changed. To be effective, the strength of ethyl alcohol must be no less than 70%, and the strength of isopropyl alcohol must be 99%. Since alcohol is not an EPA-registered disinfectant, it is not permitted for use with implements in states that require hospital disinfection. So that means to us that won't cut it in Georgia, will it? This means it is not legal to use alcohol as a disinfectant in most cases. But again, we're talking about disinfectant. Now, what we do in here on the tables and all is sanitation. There are many disadvantages to using alcohols. They are extremely flammable, they evaporate quickly, and are slow acting and less effective when compared to other recommended disinfectants. Alcohols corrode tools and cause sharp edges to become dull. They also discolor and damage the surfaces of floors and countertops. The vapors formed on evaporation can cause headaches and nausea when inhaled in high concentration or after prolonged exposure. Then we have our household bleach, sodium hypochlorite. It's an effective disinfectant but shares some of the same drawbacks as alcohol. Neither bleach nor alcohols are professionally designed and tested for disinfection of salon implements. Bleach and alcohol may have been used extensively in the past but have since been replaced by more advanced and effective technologies. Bleach is, however, a very effective laundering additive. You know, we have a hard time disinfecting our towels. So we use bleach in the hottest water possible when we launder our towels. Although quats are preferably suitable for cleaning any surface, you may wish to clean floors, bathrooms, sinks, and waste receptacles with a commercial cleaner such as Lysol or Pine Sol. Both are very effective disinfectants but should not be used on salon implements. They are general household level disinfectants and are not designed for professional tools. Now the reason we say that, we're probably not going to cut a client with our countertop, nor with our cape, nor with our towel. But we might with our shears, hadn't we? So we can sanitize these surfaces. It's all right, we should disinfect them, every few days. But we've got to disinfect our implements that we may break skin with every time we use them. Disinfectants are powerful professional strength tools that can be hazardous if used incorrectly. They can be poisonous if ingested and can cause serious skin and eye damage, especially while they're concentrated. A good rule to remember is use caution. We should also wear gloves and safety glasses when mixing chemicals with water. Always add the disinfectant to the water, not water to the disinfectant. Meaning don't pour the disinfectant in your container first and then slosh water in it. Because if you do, the water is going to slosh that disinfectant right out on you. So if you put the water in first and pour the disinfectant in, about all you're going to slosh out is water. Use tongs, gloves, or a draining basket to remove implements from disinfectants. Always keep these disinfectants away from children. Never pour quartz, phenols, formalin, alcohol, or any other disinfectants over your hand. That's the first thing we want to do when we catch somebody with lice, is go pour some real strong chemicals on our hands to kill the lice. Don't go there. This hazardous practice can cause skin irritation and increase the chance of infection. Wash your hands with soap and warm water and dry them thoroughly. Carefully weigh and measure all products to ensure that they perform at their peak efficiency. Never place any disinfectant or other product in an unmarked container. Always follow the manufacturer's recommendations for mixing and using, and check the effectiveness to make sure you're using the right disinfectant. Avoid overexposure. Disinfectants are chemicals, and overuse is detrimental to the environment. So when you're back there mixing them, don't get right over it and smell it to see if it smells right. Stand back from it while you mix it. You know, if you're mixing it correctly and you've measured everything, then you've got everything right. There's no need to sniff it. Jars or containers used to disinfect implements are often incorrectly called wet sanitizers. The purpose of these containers is not to sanitize, but to disinfect. The disinfecting soap solution must be changed daily and kept free from debris unless otherwise directed by the manufacturer's instructions. Strict adherence to the principles of good hygiene and disinfection must be maintained. It was the funniest thing. I was teaching continuing ed classes to the master cosmetologist, and 3 hours of that's got to be health and safety, decontamination and all that. So I had to do a lot of research myself. And when should our disinfectant be changed, such as the barbicide? So daily, it says daily, but if somebody goes back there and puts contaminated implements in it, it needs to be changed right away. But it was amazing to me, the different manufacturers, when it says to change it. Most of them say when it becomes cloudy. It doesn't say anything about daily. If you don't put 4 or 5 implements in it in a day, why change it? You know, really, you haven't used a lot of its effectiveness. However, if you know, like we are, we have to sometimes change ours during the day. But I asked that question of the master cosmetologist, when should you change your disinfectant? How often? Nobody knew. Well, I laughed at them and kind of scolded them a little bit, and then went on to finally tell them. I was amazed at the answers too, you know, because I'd been doing it so long, I didn't go back. Read the manufacturer's directions periodically, but it's vitally important to go back and read it periodically. I thought when you could see stuff floating in it, you know, you changed it. What, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe once a day. I really didn't do that much thought process because students work with it. But I should have been thinking harder since I have students. So read your manufacturer's directions. Always disinfect your tools or other implements according to the guidelines listed by EPA wet disinfectants. This means complete immersion for the required amount of time. Now what complete immersion means, if you're going to put your scissors in there, you can't leave the handles sticking out and just put them in a little bit of it, the blades, because the blade's what you cut somebody with. Because if you do, you leave the handles contaminated. The little jars on the manicure table used to only be yay high. When you put your cuticle nippers in them, the handles stayed out. So the handles never got the bacteria killed on them, so when you pulled the blades out and dried them off and rinsed them off, went to using them on the client, this bacteria, how long did it take them to get to the blades? Not very long, huh? All right. Disinfectant linens and capes. All linen should be used once and then laundered with bleach according to label directions. We never want our capes or drapes to come in contact with a client's skin. They should be laundered in the same manner. Now let me tell you about the drape. If it does not come in contact with your client's skin, you do not have to wash it after every client. Believe that or not, because you have a barrier between them and it. A lot of people like to wash them every time. If you do, that's well and good. Electrical equipment's another thing we need to be careful with about disinfecting. The contact points of equipment that cannot be immersed in liquid, such as our hair clippers, Electrotherapy tools and nail drills should be wiped or sprayed with an EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectant created especially for electrical equipment. We keep that back there, this type of disinfectant. It is vitally important, especially with clippers, that you get that neck, you know, you're going to be pinched a bump or something back there and get a little body fluid, so make sure that you use a hospital-grade spray disinfectant. Leave it in contact with it the required amount of time. Our work surfaces. Before and after each client, an EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectant should be used on the work surface, such as the manicure table or your workstation, aesthetic bed. The disinfectant should be left on the surface the full amount of time prescribed by the manufacturer's directions. Remember to disinfect all surfaces. This includes doorknobs, handles, and so on. The shampoo bowl should be cleaned and the drain cleared of all hair after each client. The neck of the bowl should be disinfected the same way as other work surfaces. Our disinfection of whirlpool pedicure foot spas is really a thing that's getting renowned on the news, that we're not doing them correctly because we're not cleaning out the drain, the net there that catches skin and all that. So make sure you cleanse your whirlpool real good. Spray it down. I never will forget, about a year ago, the night instructor called me. Oh, your students have left the biggest mess in this foot spa I've ever seen. And I said, well, what in the world? Because me and the other instructors go through this department every afternoon, you know, to make sure, because we realize there's another class coming in. I don't know, it's something blue or purplish looking all in it. And I said, well, my heavens, that's barbicide. That's the disinfectant. Well, why was it left in here? Well, I am assuming that we sprayed it down and it was time for us to leave. We were running late, so we left it in there. Was that a problem? Did that hurt anything that we left the disinfectant in it? No. Hadn't hurt a thing. What would have been a problem if we'd have sprayed it on there and we was in a hurry to go home and left it 5 minutes, rinsed it out, and took off? That would have been a bit, and that's what I told her. I said, being left on there is not the problem. Getting it off too quick, that could be a big problem. So make sure, just because you're going to leave and you're afraid somebody's going to holler about it, let an instructor know if you need to leave it in there. That's fine. That is no problem. Leave it in there. We'll talk about blood spill disinfection also, and how to take care of that, but I feel like y'all have been through the training for that. With blood spills, and occasionally we'll have that, we want to make sure we stop right then and get the blood cleaned up. We want to glove up if we haven't gotten any on us. Clean up everything, make sure we remove our gloves properly, and we'll go over that later. Get our client a Band-Aid, some first aid cream. Let her preferably cover her wound. Because blood can carry many pathogens, you never touch a client's open sore wound. So if they come into you with a wound, you make sure you glove up or either refuse to service them, one or the other. The dispensary must be kept clean and orderly with all containers marked clearly as to what's in them. And MSDS on every chemical in stock should be kept readily available to everyone that works in the salon. That means all the other stylists, to you, and to anyone who comes in and does cleaning. You make sure you make them aware of where they are. Because during cleaning services, when all the rest of us are off in the salon, the client has the custodian has the capability of accidentally knocking something off and spilling it, and we want them protected. The MSDS should also indicate the appropriate disinfectant to be used with each chemical. To prevent the spread of disease, all disposable supplies such as orangewood sticks, emery boards, cotton, gauze, neck strips, and so forth should be thrown away. Anything exposed to blood, however, including microdermabrasion debris, must be double bagged. It should be marked with a biohazard sticker and marked or disposed of according to OSHA standards. Puncture-proof containers should be used in the disposal of all sharps, and that's such as our razor blades, and we do have a sharps container to put it in. But we want to mark anything that may have blood or body fluids on it, because again, we got the custodian coming in and handling this. So we want to double bag it and put that marker on it so that they don't handle it. The third or lowest level of decontamination is called sanitation or sanitizing. These words are often frequently misused and misunderstood. To sanitize means to significantly reduce the number of pathogens or disease-producing organisms found on a surface. Cleaning with soaps or detergents will sanitize salon tools and other surfaces. When we go in the bathroom and wash our hands with soap and water, we're sanitizing them. That's the strongest we can do with skin. Sanitized surfaces may still harbor pathogens or other organisms. Removing hair from a brush and washing the brush with detergent is considered sanitation. Putting antiseptics designed for hands or feet on your skin and washing your hands is another example of sanitation. Your hands may appear very clean, but when you are finished will still harbor pathogens that may have been found in the tap water and on the towel. That's another reason in the restrooms we don't use cloth towels. It's because when the person before us dried off, they left some germs. We come along and dry off and we leave some germs. So if we use paper towels, then they're thrown in the garbage. You will also notice that our trash can in the restroom sits at the door. And occasionally when I get a new group of students, they'll move it back towards the sink. When I go to the bathroom, I move it back towards the door. That is so I can wash my hands, get some paper towels to dry them, open the door with my paper towel, turn off the light with my paper towel, and then throw my paper towel in the garbage can sitting there. Okay? An emerging health concern is the growth of mold and mildew in buildings. Mold is a fungus growth that usually grows in dark, damp places. Mildew is a moldy coating produced by fungi that can appear on walls, fabrics, and the like, and also occurs in damp areas. Mold spores carry toxins that can cause allergic reactions and sickness in some people. These spores are almost always present in outdoor and indoor air and on most furnishing and construction materials. Dirt on surfaces provides nutrients for mold. Practicing proper sanitation provides protection against the growth of mildew and mold in the salon. Are y'all watching the news about the Katrina victims and some of the houses was left except that they got flooded, and you go in there and you can see up the wall with the mold wherever the water went? Well, see, all of that has got to be professionally cleaned or either torn down, because if not, the people move back in it, just paint over it or whatever, you know, maybe put a sealer on there and then paint over it. The contaminants are still there, and they're going to make the people sick. We also have a caution here. Avoiding using bar soap in the salon. Bar soap can actually grow bacteria. That's amazing, isn't it? Well, now we're conscious and we buy our bar soap that's antibacterial. So how does it grow bacteria? It's the moisture, it's damp. Usually we flip off the lights, dark. We've left a little dirt on there, have we? Probably did. It's a better practice to provide pump-type liquid soaps. Hand washing is one of the most important actions that can be taken to prevent the transfer of microorganisms from one person to another. Hand washing removes microorganisms from the folds and grooves of the skin by lifting and rinsing them from the skin surface. And it tells us to wash our hands before and after each client. And invariably you'll think, and we all think this, why should I wash them before I do this when I just washed them after this one? Well, what did you do in between? Did you answer the telephone? Might have. Did you take the client's money? Might have. Well, if you took the money, you have handled the nastiest thing you could ever handle. So make sure you wash your hands well and don't handle the doorknobs or the light switches afterwards, because who knows who handled it and what they had. And did they wash their hands before they come out of the bathroom? I think every time I go over this, I think about Dear Abby, and I think I tell it about every time. But I was reading Dear Abby one time, and it was these people at this place of work. They all worked in an office, and the bathroom was right there in the middle of the offices, you know, so you could see when somebody went in the bathroom. And they said this one man would go in there and he'd be directly out, and they noticed he was never drying his hands or anything. And so they got enough of that. They knew he was handling the light switch and the doorknob and all that, and they'd go in behind him. So one day one of the employees asked him, said, "Are you going back to work after going in the bathroom and not washing your hands?" And he said, "No, I'm going to lunch." And they wrote Dear Abby to see how to handle this feller. Antiseptics can kill, retard, or prevent the growth of bacteria, but they are not classified as disinfectants. Antiseptics are weaker than disinfectants and are safe for application to the skin. They're usually used prior to a manicure or pedicure. A lot of your companies put this antiseptic out and they tell you, send your client in to wash her hands. Seat her at the manicure table. You go wash your hands. Come sit down at the manicure table. Take this antiseptic, spray her hands good with it, then spray your hands good with it. You know, double safe. You've used antibacterial soap, now you've used an antiseptic. They are considered sanitizers and are not adequate, however, for use on instruments or surfaces. Then we talk about universal precautions, and I think we've talked about this a little bit, but we want to go there again. And I also heard on the news the other day, they have the doctor on Fox News on Sunday morning, that he said the greatest prevention against flu is hand washing. That's the greatest prevention to keep from having the flu. Many infectious diseases do not present visible symptoms on the infected person. Because you will not necessarily be able to identify clients with infectious diseases, the same infection control practices should be used with all clients. OSHA sets the standard that must be used in the industry for dealing with bloodborne pathogens. The standard prescribes the use of universal precautions as the approach to infection control. Universal precautions are a set of guidelines and controls which have been published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that require the employer and the employee to assume that all human blood and specified human body fluids are infectious for HIV, HPV, and other bloodborne pathogens. Precautions include hand washing, gloving, personal protective equipment. This is like your aprons or your smocks, goggles, injury prevention, and proper handling and disposal of needles, other sharp instruments, and products that have been contaminated by blood or other body fluids. Clients who are infected with hepatitis B virus or other bloodborne pathogens are asymptomatic, which means they show no symptoms. That's why we assume that anybody we work on has HIV or HBV, and we treat them therefore. Let's talk about our items and how they need to be decontaminated and the procedure to do that. Lancets or other facial tools and implements used to puncture or break the skin or anything that comes in contact with pus or oozing needs to be sterilized. You may do that with a steam autoclave or dry heat. Dispose of all sharps in a puncture-proof container. We don't want to put it in the regular garbage because often when we lift the garbage bag out, we'll mash it together so we can close it up. If we've got a sharp in there, it's going to come out and puncture us. Non-porous tools and implements such as combs, brushes, razors, hair cutting shears, clipper attachments, picks, bobby pins, rollers, Velcro rollers, nippers, tweezers, immersible nail files, attachments, and so on that have not come in contact with body fluids or blood. We use disinfection procedures. We want to completely immerse them in an EPA-registered, hospital-grade, bactericidal, pseudomonicidal, fungicidal, and biocidal disinfectant for an amount of time specified by the manufacturer. Also tuberculocidal.
With your hair rollers, bobby pins, how often do you have to change those out?
Do you mean buy new ones, or how often do you have to disinfect them?
Buy new ones.
Whenever they wear out. They're disinfected after each client. Now, personally, with bobby pins, to me, I call that a disposable. If I use bobby pins on somebody, I'm not going back there disinfecting bobby pins. I throw them in the garbage. because they're not, not all that expensive. But your hair clips and your rollers and things, you can use for years and years and years. And after a while, they'll begin to break or crack or whatever. So they're not a big expenditure once you buy them. Non-porous hair care tools and implements that have come in contact with parasites such as head lice must be disinfected. Completely immerse them in a Lysol solution for 1 hour. Notice that. Now, 1 hour, we've got away from that 10 to 20 minute deal. Non-porous tools and implements such as nippers, razors, or hair cutting shears that have accidentally come in contact with blood or body fluids, they must be disinfected. Complete immersion in EPA-registered disinfectant with demonstrated effectiveness against HIV-1, HPV, or tuberculosis for the amount of time specified by the manufacturer. And I'm extra careful with blood on an implement, meaning I'm not going to trust that I looked at my watch right and left it 20 minutes. I'm going to set me a blasted timer. You know what I'm saying? It's going to stay in there. Listen, I know I'm going, and I know it's probably going to be sooner than later now. I've got a long, but I'm not going to rush things. And there's certain ways, if I can help it, that I don't want to leave here either. Electrotherapy tools, electric clippers, electric files would be disinfection by spraying or wiping with an EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectant specifically made for electrical equipment. Our countertops, shampoo bowls, sinks, floors, toilets, doorknobs, mirrors, magnifying lamps, and the dispensary sanitation. Now, have you noticed here that the book contradicted itself? It did say disinfection on the countertops. Did y'all notice that a while ago? It is impossible to disinfect countertops between each client and leave it in contact from 10 to 20 minutes. Because let's face it, when that client's leaving, more than likely you've got another one sitting there. But you can take the time for sanitation, which is the level of decontamination here. To do so, you use an EPA-registered cleaning product that is designed for surfaces. The effectiveness label states what is appropriate for such surfaces such as floors, countertops, toilets, towels, sinks, and the like. Our towels, linens, capes, and headbands should be sanitation. Launder them in hot water and detergent with bleach or Lysol added to the rinse water. Our hands, prior to each service, can be sanitized. That's done so with washing with liquid soap and warm water. Your hands, the client's hands and or feet before each manicure pedicure service. Sanitation. Use soap and warm water and the antiseptic designed for use on hands and feet. We're going to talk a little bit about professional image. We've already had a unit on that, but here we are again. So our professional image is not just us and how we present ourselves, it's our salon and how we keep it. So overall health, safety, and cleanliness should be an integral part of your normal routine and the routines of all those who work with you. This way you and your co-workers can project a steadfast professional image. We're fixing to go over some guidelines that should help keep the salon looking its best and also being its best. I might also add, as we go through some of these, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that there is inspectors that come in and inspect salons to see if you're breaking any sanitation disinfection rules. And the number one tells us to sweep floors after each client's service, especially after a haircut. And there is fines from $100 to $500 for this. Let's assume they come in and I'm standing there rolling a perm, but there's hair all in the floor where I'm at. They're going to fine me because I'm not cutting. If I'm standing there cutting and that's the color hair I'm cutting and all on the floor, that's fine. But when I finish that cut, even if I'm going to roll that client's hair on perm rods or whatever, now I'm not changing clients, I still cannot stand there and roll a perm walking in her hair, because I'm going to spread it all over the place. I've got to go answer the phone. I've got to go to the back and get my perm rods. I've got to do this, that, and the other. So when I finish cutting, by state board regulations, I best to stop, get the cut hair off of her drape, get it off of her chair, get it off of her, get the broom, get it up, and it must be placed in a closed receptacle. You notice the trash can side of that desk there, it's got a foot pedal on it and it'll lift the lid, and that's what they're talking about. It can't just be thrown in the garbage can. Therefore, if she had some type of disease or disorder that I didn't pick up on, which she could have, then I have contained that hair in one place. Whereas if I leave it on the floor while I do other things, I'm tracking it all over this building, all over the place. So spreading germs. Mop floors and vacuum carpets daily. Control all types of dust, because remember where bacteria live. Keep window screens and curtains clean. Regularly clean fans, ventilation systems, and humidifiers. Keep all work areas well lit. Remember, bacteria likes dark places. Keep restrooms clean and tidy, and remember to clean the bathroom door handles. Provide toilet tissue, paper towels, and pump-type liquid soap in the restroom. Clean sinks and drinking fountains regularly. Provide disposable drinking cups. Keep the salon free from insects and rodents. Do not allow the salon to be used for cooking or living quarters. Never place food in refrigerators that you use to store salon products. Prohibit eating, drinking, and smoking in areas where services are performed. Empty waste receptacles regularly throughout the day. If they give 2 or 3 perms back there in a day's time, after a while you're going to start smelling it out of the garbage can. And especially when I have a group go into nail care too, they start using those chemicals. So it's best to get it on out of the salon so the smell and all's not there. Wear clean, freshly laundered clothing. Make sure all containers are properly marked, tightly closed, and properly stored. A lot of our products evaporate easily and lose their strength if we leave the lids off of them, so we want to make sure when we pour what we want out of it, that we tighten that lid up. Keep the outside of all containers clean. Do not place any tools, combs, rollers, or hairpins in your mouth or pockets. Properly clean and disinfect all tools and implements after each use and store them in a clean, covered container. Avoid touching your face, mouth, or eye areas during services. Do not allow any pets or animals in the salon except for trained service animals. Clean and disinfect all work surfaces, including manicure tables, aesthetic beds, workstations, and chairs between client services. Clean shampoo bowls and disinfect the neck of the bowl after each client. Use only freshly laundered or new disposable linens on clients. Use a separate container for soiled linens. Use disposable towels or tissue whenever possible. Use neck strips or towels to ensure that there is no skin contact with cutting or shampoo capes. Disinfect all linens during the wash cycle with detergent and bleach. It contradicts itself again. It says to disinfect your towels over here by adding bleach to the rinse water. It says here to do it during the wash cycle. Y'all notice that? We put the bleach in the wash cycle. Monitor air quality in the salon. 4 to 10 air changes per hour are recommended for public buildings. Air changes remove suspended particles such as hairspray, nail filings, and microscopic particles which are loosened when brushing the scalp. An air purification system or any EPA-registered air cleaner are effective in removing these particles. Those white boxes you see sitting around are air cleaners that pulls the particles out of the air. There's one right under that office window out there. There's one out in the reception area. So that's what those are put there for.
When it says 4 to 10 air changes,
It means to work that quickly, to bring that much, take that much out and bring that much in. Sanitation and disinfection, remember, is our job. It is not our client's job at all. So make sure that we take care of it. Do y'all have questions? Yeah, it's okay. The first thing I want you to notice is we do have a sink back here to wash things in, but I prefer taking my implements such as combs and brushes to the shampoo bowl because we have the spray nozzle and it has a lot stronger water spray, which the water spray itself will help to clean some of the particles out. Then we put them in the barbicide, which is our disinfectant, for the required amount of time, 10 to 20 minutes. We also have the SteriArray over here that says it's a sanitizing system. And in all actuality, if we wash our equipment and put it in there, that's not going to do a thing to it but dry it. Not going to sanitize it. So we want to make sure that we disinfect it before we put it in there. It's really good to go ahead and dry our equipment so we can put it in a drawer dry cabinet sanitizer or drawer sanitizer. And that's what they're going in for their combs and brushes right now. And it should have the Stere-Dry in there to keep our implements in sanitary condition. And probably have to dig for it, but I know it's in here because I saw it the other day. There's our Stere-Dry. And you can see, and it's a fumigant to keep the things in sanitary condition for our clients. That's our brushes, and we have our combs and our rollers things. All right, if y'all will let me come right through here, I'll show you about our towels. We come back here and we put it on the hottest setting possible and let the towels and the capes wash. Then we put it in the dryer and leave them on the hottest possible setting. But we take our capes out within 15 minutes so that they don't get hard and crumply. Use them over. It's also a good idea to close the Velcro neck closures on there so that they do not pick up the lint from the towel. Our dirty hamper for towels is kept right over there that the whoever works the dispensary, and you have the dispensary a week at the time, we'll clean out our bins at the back at the shampoo bowls, put the dirty towels there, and as quickly as possible then get them in the washing machine. And then in the shampoo area we have cabinets up above the shampoo bowls. Keep them closed while you're back there, because you've got your clean, sanitized towels there. And if you leave it open, what happens with them? Bacteria, they become decontaminated. All right, do we have questions? Doing the dispensary doesn't seem as complicated now as all that we had in the book, does it?